Welcome, Supreme Commanders, friends and YouTube who've randomly gone and clicked. Today I've got a 4 versus 4 ranked epic going down for you today on Saskaya, a 20 by 20 kilometer map, one we've not featured on the channel before. And just before we do introduce our players, I just wish to remind everybody, because it is a ranked game, we've got the Hotties, as we like to call them, the warm colours on one side, the Coolies on the other side. The player ratings that you see here are extremely underrepresentative of the actual player's true skill rating. These are the ratings that belong to the 4 versus 4 ranked ladder games, and as many of you I'm sure know, certainly those of you that play in FAF, 4 versus 4 ranked games are not as popular as some of the other game modes. And so, for example, we see here Foley, according to this, has a rating of 2017. His global rating is actually 2526. So the scoreboard here is lowballing, in some cases, player ratings by up to 500 points. And so with that said and done, let's start introducing our two teams. As we can see there, Team 1, or the Hotties, on the left, Team 2, the Coolies, on the right. I'm going to start on the right-hand side just for no other reason than Foley is the highest-rated player in today's game. And so let's start there. Foley in darker blue, 2,000, or at least it's 4v4, but I'm going to go with their global ratings because it's far more representative. 2,526 there. He's going Seraphim, starting first land in electric blue. As we move to his southwest in Lilac here, we've got VIP. His true skill rating is 2277, and these are the ratings of the players as I record this video. So there's every chance that by the time you see this, if these players have played, of course, their rating could fluctuate. He's actually starting in the drink there. He's also going Seraphim, going First Navy. Not every day of the week we get to say it's First Navy, but we can today. As we move, let's go to the other watery position as well. To VIP South, we've got Unique, yet another Seraphim player. True skill would have you believe he's a 1233. Unique is actually a 1413 rated player, so 1413. For those of you whose English is perhaps not the preferred language, he's also going First Navy there, starting in the water and getting that nice quick hydro upgrade. Last but not least for Team 1, in the corner here, or air slot as we may call them, is Chicken Ryaba. True skill rating, according to this, 1554. His rating is probably the closest of them all. His global rating is 1515. So only about 40 points discrepancy there. He's going Aeon, so bucking the trends. The princess is going to mix up with 3 aliens. I wouldn't like to think what comes out of that, but hopefully I won't have to. Switching over then to a quick look at the map. As we said, it is a 20 by 20 Saskaya, and if we take a look, there is an awful lot of reclaim to be had on this map. In fact, if I just select one of the players, we'll actually get a value there. We can see there's still 37,500 mass on the map, and of course a little bit will have already been reclaimed while I've been waffling. Alright, let's finish the introductions then, and we'll start on the lower position there. Azuros, his rating, globally at least, is 2,075, so it's another 2k player. He's going Burgundy Red there, first and second air as Cybran. Moving to his right in the drink, we've got ourselves Carl, Khal. He's a 1442 rated on the global, so Carl actually the only player, at least that I'm aware of in this game, that is being carried somewhat by his 4 versus 4 ranked ladder rating, but that is unusual there. He's started as Cybran, as we see, going first and second Navy. As we continue north then, the last couple of players, we've got Red Vizimosis here. I absolutely love that name, Red Vizimosis. That has got to be one of the coolest names in FAF. He's going UEF, so he knows what faction to pick also, having gone first, second and third. Looks like 4th, 5th and 6th Navy. His true skill rating is 1903 when we're talking global, so another one who's being misrepresented by around 500 points. And last but not least then, in the rear with a gear for Team 1, the Hotties, we've got Swatoslav, a 22-49 rated player. You can see there his 4 versus 4 ranked is 600 and some points lower than what his true skill rating is. He's going UEF as well in what appears to be first land, second hand. With that, introductions are complete and we could go back to full pace. Always feels like the introductions are hard work, especially like today when there's all these qualifiers, and yeah, but this can't quite be that. Intel there from Foley, looks like just a scout. We've got scouts from both players, dropping engineers, no interceptors, unfortunately, no bombers. Looks like Foley is the first to dispatch interceptors. Swatoslav preferring to dispatch a bomber. I'd like to see him get that interceptor up there as well. For now, both players dropping engineers around each other, and we've seen both of them with scouts as well, so Foley will be well aware that Swatoslav's been dropping, and I imagine Swatoslav, well, yes, look at that. He can already see the same's happening over there. I do like the decision to go first radar, and assuming this bomber can get in, and it looks like it is going to thread through that gap, Foley not yet aware of it. This could be a nice pickup. We'll see what Swatoslav can see, and there is the targeting, going for the one engineer in the mid. Of course, with hindsight, we could say go for the engineers that are more clumped up, but there indeed bombs away. One engineer down, 2 of them heavily damaged, and Foley doing the right thing there, splitting the engineers up as best he can. Lovely ground attack move order here from Swatoslav. Tries to aim between the engineers. Ensures much reduces the likelihood of a misfire. Does pick off one of the engineers, and looks like the bomber coming round for one more go. Picks off yet another engineer. That one was idle. And I can't see Foley letting this bomber live for much longer. And there it goes. That will have somewhat slowed down the progress of Foley's little base here. But he does appear to have gotten more done than Swatoslav. These are the 2 highest ranked players in the game facing off. So far it's 3 factories apiece. And Swatoslav, they're actually gaining a little bit using the factories that were being built as a little bit of a shield. As long as he can hold on to these engineers, it's going to be close. But it looks like just, and that then means the first little engage has gone Swatoslav's way. Alright, let's have a look elsewhere on the map, see if anybody's going elsewhere. We can see similar things taking place on the southwestern end of the map. It is a map that is mirrored through a rotation, so it's not an exact mirror down the middle, but rather if you take it from corner to corner and rotate it around, we can see we've got this little bulge here and this little inlet here, and the same thing here. There's the bulge and there's the inlet. Our first Navy ships in any sort of a number. That appears to be Carl, who's managed to achieve that at 7 minutes. He's got what appears to be a couple of subs, couple of frigates. Actually make that 1 frigate 3 subs. And he's up against Unique, who's just got the 1 sub. So it doesn't take a genius to figure which way that's going to go. So at least early stages there. The Hotties faring better in the sea. I do like Carl's very aggressive Navy opening, and again with all the mass that is available for reclaim, he will have been able to fund quite a rapid expansion. Foley making his way to the northern position here, and it's just as well. We've got 6 factories for Swatoslav. We've got 6 as well for Foley. So this is a pretty even-steven flight. We've got an advancing engineer there with a walled-off PD. Of course, that doesn't prevent artillery, but at least makes it a little more difficult for Foley to just overrun the expansion Svatoslav has. But I think things are going to change somewhat once the commander's here. Foley is still bare. Again, more drops here from engineers, just waiting for an order there. Svatoslav is no doubt going to be involved in this. It feels like quite an important battle. There's been a lot of investment from both players for this peninsula, and of course it unlocks various mass points on this island. Going to be quite difficult to hold though, with it being a predominantly navy map. It's still going to be worth having. Svatoslav pressing there, but that's not going to go anywhere with the commander stood there. A quick look further south, we've still got Karl roaming around, who has, at least in the first 9 or 10 minutes, by far the biggest navy in the game. If we take a look at this, we've got 9 naval units so far pressing. Predominantly the U-boats. We've got a couple of frigates in the mix there as well. And so Ryber's got to be a little bit careful there, Chicken Ryber, that he doesn't get caught. That's 7 Tech 1 subs are pretty strong for this stage of the game. It looks like he's making his way towards the land there, the ramp. Red Vizimosis coming to assist, or what I assume is assisting, where Svatoslav has attempted to make landfall. And here we have the problem of the commander with the units. In what was otherwise relatively fair, we do see Foley has made himself a few more land factories. He's also got a bunch of reclaim right there. And I think, unfortunately for Svatoslav, this is going to be a lost cause. Down they go. Best thing for Svatoslav, I think, now is to pause the factories, try and get an attack move with the engineers that are there. I mean, doing this is just chucking good money after bad. It was actually a Sparky. So Svatoslav, look at that, he's got an Tech 2 headquarters land factory there, which is very unfortunate. I think it goes without saying that had Foley not made the decision to take the commander over there early, that would have been a loss for Foley instead. Here we see our first real naval engage of any numbers. VIP has gone for a very quick Tech 2 upgrade, and that will shoo away the frigates and subs there. The Tech 2 destroyer able to outrange, outgun, and out-torpedo all of these Tech 1 units. Karl making a good decision there that might as well grab what he can while he runs away. But it does appear now that he's got himself trapped by the destroyer. VIP is going to be able to polish these off without much threat at all. And there we see the destroyer with 9 kills. It's going to be 10 momentarily. Further to the south, we see Azuros taking on Ryaba. Ryaba's made the switch up to Tech 2, dealing predominantly against flares. The Aeon flares, the light assault bots, may well be the best in the business, but versus Tech 2 units, even there, they may have met their match. Further to the north now, we can see these mass extractors belonging to Svatoslav. Well, they were almost down for sure. You can see these are Tech 2 mass points, so he won't really want to lose those for free. He's got a couple of Janus in the area and the commander, Svatoslav, who got himself the gun upgrade before flying himself in. He's gonna he's really gonna want to hold on to these Tech 2 mass points. You can see that the health of that mass point going down. There's a lot of artillery in the air. It's going to be very close. 200 hit points remain. With no more artillery in the area, he might just have held. Foley deciding to fly in now, perhaps to go after these Janus. Svatoslav does have a couple of engineers in the area. He's going to be able to start producing units there. Brings in some interceptors of his own. Foley elects to bail. So at 13 minutes, the point at which the game went over from beginning stages to the early mid stages. didn't really come with a well-defined pause in action. As we can see, players, some of them made the transition up to Tech 2 without producing any other units. Others went heavy Tech 1. And I think both teams have complemented each other quite well there. Zeros still bare backing off, covering his retreat with a few naval units. Ryaba with the sniper upgrade. Aeon will make him very effective on the land, but I wouldn't spend too much time in the sea, not when your opponent has destroyers loitering in the area. There is a destroyer here belonging to Unique, but of course the Seraphim destroyer, while it may well be more accurate with its beam weapons, it is outranged by the Cybran destroyer there, and you can see just sitting here is never good for the health of such a ranged mismatched unit. Ryaba here. I'm wondering if he is attempting to pursue Azuros there, who is making for the Tech 2 upgrade. I'm not sure what he's going to do. Azuros does have a Tech 1 mass extractor in the water, so we will be able to see what's going on. But what have we over here? Swatoslav suddenly finds himself surrounded by a bunch of Tech 1. Granted, he does have the gun. He is right next to the pond, but he's still going to want to be careful. It looks like he's struggling to find himself away into the water. And if there'd have been some artillery in that mix, or if Foley had put a little bit more effort in blocking the commander, I suspect that would have been our first ejection. Somehow manages to live. Foley presses on, and that's going to enable Swatoslav to come out and attack these tanks from behind. Here we're seeing the destroyers here. Chicken Ryaba, again, he's got to be so careful. I mean, we've got 3 factories here able to resupply. Granted, the commander's going to be able to deal with that by himself without any other influence, but we've got this navy moving in from Azuros, and Ryaba's on the wrong side of his base. We also have Unique moving in. Unique's got the gun, so there may well be some support. Got a very nice drop over here as well from Ryaba. I love to see this. Blazes here, and 2 more in the base. Azuros forced to defend using the destroyer, but look at this micro as Ryaba rocks these blazes back and forth, and with it the destroyer finding a hard time to get a solution. Those are 2 Tech 2 mass extractors that have gone down. We've also got pressure further north from Foley, who's eaten right into Red Viziosis's base. Although now a well-timed broadsword there from Swatoslav, that will help defend from the Hotties. I think Foley no choice but to begin to bail. Red Viziosis is in the sea there, but again, mostly frigates that are left now. So much going on in the map. We've got a huge battle in the central region. Let's take a focus there. Cybran versus the beam weapon, and there we can see really nice micro from VIP. Back and forth. The problem with micro is you can't stop. You can at least queue micro orders up, but as soon as you stop moving, any advantage that the beam weapons may have with accuracy is out the window. Also got a UEF destroyer there that's suddenly gone pop. A couple of Cybran cruisers that do have a bit of a direct fire capability with the rockets, unlike cruisers of other faction. In turn lack the missiles. Zeros did manage to complete the Tech 2 upgrade and is now backing off. I just feel a bit for his safety. There are 2 commanders in the area. Yes, he did have that navy there, but we can see Ryaba's actually sent a couple of units there, although I think the navy has been destroyed. What's left is just a shield and a blaze, and that's now gone as well. What an effective raid this was. It's unclear exactly how many mass extractors were taken out, but you can see from the veterancy of these blazes, they've done very well. It's certainly paid for itself, and I don't think the Hotties were expecting that drop. You can see they're actually using Tech 2 Navy that they really need on their front line to deal with this drop. Azuros is now trying to hold 2 commanders back with a Tech 2 point defense. And Cybran at that is going to have his work cut out for him. Battle through the mid regions. VIP working together with Foley appear to have broken through. With it, there's a fair bit of reclaim there, and that's always going to be nice. Speaking of, we haven't really had chance because there's been that much taking place this game. Let's have a little look overall. Live mass values, looks like Team 2, the Coolies, they're going to be the first to tick over 500 mass per tick, which is every second, providing the game stays up to speed. Team 1 significantly behind, actually, at 100 mass per tick behind, and that is probably thanks to that drop, at least in large part. That's around a 20% disparity at this case, this state of the game, rather. It's a huge advantage, really, for the Coolies. They now get themselves a much-needed cruiser in that mix. That's going to dissuade the broadsword here from Swatoslav hanging around, and indeed, he does retreat. Karl still with a reasonably significant force there. I love the use of the counter-intel belt, the stealth, and if we take a look here, what the Coolies can see, the answer is, well, they don't see anything unless they get within visual range. So that's going to require regular scouting runs or to throw away units to maintain scouting ability there from the Coolies. It does appear here that Azuros, together with his navy, was able to push the 2 commanders from the Coolies out. I wasn't necessarily sure that was going to happen. Again, the Cyber commander with little more than a Tech 2 upgrade versus 2 commanders. Things looking a little better for Swatoslav up north, who is pushing and assisting with his broadsword there. It was a rushed broadsword, and it's I think it's paid quite well for itself. Not worse than when people rush a broadsword or similar expensive Tech 3 unit, and then it just completely falls flat. So even though the Coolies, you can argue, are just above halfway across the map, actually not able to break through just yet. This is a really nice move from Azuros. What we got here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 destroyers. And this is really going to upset the balance of power in the central region there. We see that Karl was just about able to hold, and credit to him, actually. Karl, who, as we were saying, has a global rating of 1442, has been holding off VIP, the rating of 2277, assisted in some way there by Foley, although granted Foley is here mostly for the reclaim purposes. It does now appear that VIP has broken through, and just as he does break through, Azuros comes in from the south. This is going to be a really nice move. He's going to want to keep these destroyers moving, though, because of this Seraphim cruiser there, the long-range missiles. There's not much that destroyers can do versus missiles other than dodge them. Azuros could use perhaps a cruiser of his own, and there we go. As we suspected there, this really would upset the balance of power, and the balance of power. And VIP, who's got Tech 2 and TAC missile upgrade on the commander, is going to want to think about evacing, and evacing pronto. Problem is, there's so many destroyers in the mix here. Could this be it for VIP? He's forced into trying to build Tech 2 torpedo launchers. He's got no navy left. And I think if the Hotties want now, it's over. What is the chat here? Such a toxic kid. You played like a biatch. What are we talking about here? Forgive me, forgive me. There's so much power. VIP. So what was the problem? People who micro-destroyers are try-hard. Try-hard, okay. Must be some sort of new expression. Such a toxic kid. You played like a bitch. Okay. We'll see how that conversation evolves. But regardless, VIP is down. The Hotties take the first kill there. They needed something with the Coolies being so far ahead. But that said, look at the gains that Swatislav's been able to make up here with this broadsword. It's a 2-star. Foley finally with an answer, and it looks like Foley may just have numbers on the air here. And I think Swatislav could do worse than bail out with that broadsword, because you already know that the ASF there, they're going to turn their attention on that broadsword as soon as the ASF are dealt with, and there they go. So microing units is a bitch move, says VIP. And Carl doesn't like that response. VIP finds it funny. Well, yes, microing the Seraphim destroyers does unfortunately make them more difficult to kill, but then again, so does microing anything. It's part and parcel of the game. I can't imagine players would complain at a commander that's microing when there's Tech 1 artillery raining down on them. So I think Carl must be... I don't understand why Carl would be upset about that. You know, that's why you play Seraphim with the Navy. You lose out on the range, you gain on the accuracy, and if you can micro, just like Aeon with their Auroras, if you can micro, some would argue that you have a little an advantage in that case, but of course it requires the input for the micro. Anyway, back to the game at hand then. The Hotties looking in a much better position since they've managed to knock VIP off. VIP who was looking very strong there until Azorus, with what I would define as a monster move there with those 4 or 5 destroyers moving in from the south, completely upset the setup there that VIP had. And I think even by the time I thought VIP should evacuate, it was already far too late. There were no supporting units in the area that could really do anything. Foley now throwing in some torpedo bombers to try and stall this onslaught. He does appear to have air dominance, but he's not going to want to fly over cruisers for longer than he has to, or that air dominance won't last long. Although he won't mind picking off individual interceptors that stray too far. Throws in a few more torpedo bombers again. Does pick off one of the cruisers, which is of course the prime target for air. And is now flying right over the top of them to try and pursue Swatoslav. And then flies back over them as well. So I'm not sure how many ASF will be lost in that move. But it was enough to push Swatoslav back. Perhaps to let his torpedo bombers in. And then he recommits again. Gotta be... The numbers are dwindling, and any advantage that Foley May had was almost gone then. Then he gets on the back of Swatoslav, which I don't think he needed to. The numbers look pretty even at one point, so that gave a whole bunch of free kills there for Foley. Foley has somehow been able to replug this gap in the northern area and is now in the process of reclaiming his side. A lot of mass points missing from around the map, and again, with it being a Navy map, I don't think that's a surprise. I mean, perhaps this one here could be taken, but yeah, there you see it. Coolies pushing through in random places, got a counter intel boat there, and shows you just how effective that is. The destroyers weren't even able to take it out until they saw it. Look at this. Unique has made the switch up to Tech 3. The Seraphim attack submarine, so very different from the other factions who may have a nuclear sub. Seraphims do not have that ability, but instead, by far the best submerged attack unit in the business. with the exception of the experimental aircraft carrier, perhaps. But otherwise, very good. And of course, surface and brandish a bit of anti-air gun as well. Not necessarily the best anti-air gun ever, but once you get a few subs together, it certainly add up. And so, yeah, this push that we saw from the Hotties initially stalled somewhat from the torpedo bombers that Foley was throwing that way, and now Unique is really upsetting things. A lot of mass in the middle there for whoever can get there first. If we zoom out, look at that. You've got 40,000 mass right there. Carl asking for torpedoes, please. So from the Hotties there, saying, look, I've got these subs and help. There's nothing I can do. And actually, this whole area is wide open. I just wonder, as Unique... Well, yes, he has. He has got intel, and he can see that there's almost nothing there. We've got, at the minimum, Tech 2 mass extractors, and they've since been capped off. So this is going to be very painful for Red Visiosis, who's on 213 mass per tick, and that is going to tumble away unless the Hotties can think of some way to stop these. Foley, meanwhile, has switched up to Tech 3 as well. Also a Seraphim player. Got himself 3 battleships into this central region. And access to a lot of the reclaim there. Carl did make a move for the battlecruiser, but a battlecruiser's not great versus the battleships at all. Here we see the amount of damage that these subs are inflicting. And there we see the decision from Unique to surface them so that they've got some anti-air capability. And here we see, look at them dealing with those torpedo bombers. And that's a problem. Going up against these Seraphim Tech 3 subs, you can't just trickle in torpedo bombers like you can any other sub. And there we see already the mass per tick enjoyed by Red Visiosis. Red Visimosis. Ticking away is a bit of a tongue twister, certainly when you start saying it 3 times. The old attack move out of the factory there from Azuros, getting as much reclaim as he possibly can. And important move there from Unique, sending the lower tech, or Tech 2 destroyers, lower tech versus the battleships forward to try and deal with some of these engineers with the beam weapons, allowing the battleships to focus on the bigger targets. Svatoslav did move forward on this defended base with a whole wave of mobile missile launchers. This is a cheeky move here from Foley, and if this works, he's going to be able to get a whole bunch of kills, and Svatoslav may not even realize it's happening. Chicken Ryaba further to the south with a lot of pressure. Again, the Zuros. Maybe there is a way out there. Zuros, who has been contributing somewhat in the middle. We've got ourselves a sonar there. He's trying to get some reclaim as well. I don't blame, frankly, anybody trying to get reclaim in that central region. Can feel a little bit frustrating when you're the one doing the fighting and one of your teammates is coming in and picking up the spoils of war, but at the end of the day you'd rather that happen than the enemy push you back and they get it. As you can see, it doesn't seem to matter who from the Hotties was sending engineers in, they're getting killed. And this actually going the Coolies' way, who have won the fight there in the central region, and the Hotties have bailed. Coolies are also pressuring further to the south, and look at this drop from Chicken Ryaba, 3 harbs, and he's going to want to split those up and quick so that Zuros can't overcharge and get all 3 in one go. And there's the first overcharge. He does get rid of one of them. I wonder if how this is going to work. Doesn't quite have enough to one-shot the harb. Oh no, the commander there eating fires from the missile, and here we got some destroyers, and there he goes, the second commander down in 32 minutes. Ryuba there bringing it back to a 3 versus 3. How about that? Love the distractions there with the harbs. I mean, had Azuros not had the ability to overcharge, that would have been the end of things anyway, but I think we could clearly see that absent of anything else, Azuros would have gotten another charge in and that would have been the end of that. But lovely move then with the Navy. And the Coolies making huge gains now on the southern area. These are Tech 3 capped off mass extractors, and I'm seeing almost nothing to stop this Navy from advancing. We've got engineers down here as well that are free to build factories and begin pressuring the Hotties main base. A nice little drop there from Chicken in the middle of this volcano. I guess as soon as he's got a spare moment, he's going to send the bot down there, the Harb, and Red Miziosis realizes the writing's on the wall and actually goes to the effort of saving the Tech 1 engineer. I mean, well, why not? There'll be reclaim to be had. And we have a real rotation taking place here. The Coolies advancing clockwise through the south. The Hotties doing the same thing to the north. And Unique is the first player to actually put
strategic launch detected,
or throw a spanner into the works there for the Hotties, and that's going to ensure that these Tech 2 units have got no way out. So whatever job that they do manage to get done, it's going to be their last. We've got our first nuke out at 34 minutes. Swatoslav launches. He's actually got a double nuke setup. Only one of them was ready to fire, but there are 2 launchers in base. And providing he doesn't stall, and I assume since being handed a second base, that is unlikely. The nuke is heading, and is it there? Is it the island? Is it Foley? No, it's Ryuba's base. And Ryuba, who does have an anti-nuke there, we see it, and looks like had at least 30 seconds worth in the clip, but of course that's going to be difficult to defend against now that we see the double nuke launcher. 2 nuke launchers will build quicker than 1 defensive unit. Once again, another drop. Ryuba! Chicken Ryuba here. He loves his drops. Look at them everywhere. It's been very, very effective with them, although this time we've got a lot of destroyers, including battleships. We've got gunships as well. And as best I can tell, there was only a couple of mass points taken out with that drop. Probably not worth it for 3 harbs, but still keeps the Hotties on their toes. And so if we take a look at things at 35 minutes then, Team 2 on total score ahead, 1.33 versus 1.22 million. So we've got a 10% advantage for the boys in blue. If we take a look, live mass incomes 1,000 apiece, and on the totalizers there, 1.29 versus 1.27 as I saw it. So about a 20 to 30,000 mass advantage, perhaps we could say 25,000 over the course of the game favoring the Coolies. So very small, about 2%. So it's a very even game. The tools that the Seraphim have Navy-wise, especially with the Tech 3 subs, just leaves a bit to be desired. And Red Vizios has got to be careful here. He's just eating a broadside from a Seraphim battleship. And he's standing there. I don't know why he's not moving. Perhaps he thinks he's going to be fine. Swatoslav throws every torpedo bomber he's got. He doesn't want to lose his teammate. They've already lost Azuros. I do wonder why Red Viziosis, I mean, he could do worse than just back off from that fusion gen. And we see now Swatoslav saturating the air with his ASF. ensuring that these torpedo bombers get as many passes as they can. There's no cruisers in the area, and there's no air-to-air response either from the Coolies. And so I think these battleships, while very effective in what they've been able to achieve, are going to die and leave a huge carcass there for Red Viziosis, who, together with the Zoros, I think they're going to gain more from the wrecks than they are from the loss of the mass extractors, which do appear to have been the primary targets there. At least 3 or 4 mass points missing. Sviatoslav has managed to push out from the south now with the Navy as well. And you see, look, just look at this, what we've got here. 6 battleships, 1 counter-intel boat. The only thing missing in my book is perhaps a couple of cruisers, especially being, of course, the Cybrans able to deflect those mobile missiles back to whence they came. Once again, as if we need to mention his name, another drop there with Harbs. And this here, awkward. All of that build capacity those Harbs have taken. We've got Tech 3 Land HQ here as well. And I think Sviatoslav does right to go after it with a bomber. But look at this, Chicken Ryabat with the micro there, ensuring that the factory goes down. I love this move. Making it very difficult for the Strat bomber there. Takes out one of the Harbs. I think they're going to get the HQ. But I'm far more interested now in seeing where this nuke is going to go. The Hotties have somehow managed to reassert themselves and get into that central position. They've pushed through down south. It's only 5 minutes ago we saw the Coolies all the way, pretty much dominating the entire southern region. But we've got the 2 nukes now from Sviatoslav, and I imagine both of them are going to try and take out the base here. And that right there could be the save of the century. Strategic missile defense on a central island there, shoots down one of them, and I can only assume that this has another missile. Yes, it does. And that is unfortunate for Sviatoslav. I think the Coolies will be breathing a sigh of relief. Probably the only area on the map that receiving 2 nukes would have had them both shot down, thanks to 2 separate launchers that both were in the line of fire, both with 1 missile apiece. We saw there the nuke defense on that central island was almost ready with a 2nd missile. If only Sviatoslav knew right. I think the target would have been for the interim island. I don't think there's too much doubt about that. Coolies with a large number of battleships, just as the Hotties were beginning to look stronger in the middle. Carly is somebody who certainly knows the spread move command. Let's do an order such as what you see there. And if you don't yet use that command, guys, you really should be using it. Such a useful one. Queue up a bunch of orders for those that don't know with a bunch of units by holding shift, and then once you press the split orders command, it will divide all the orders up by all the units you've got selected and give them to each. So useful. Certainly makes reclaiming mass fields a doddle. Again, I'm just thinking, does anybody actually have an advantage here? I mean, lots of battleships, yes, but on the other side, we've got battleships with counter intel and a few cruisers. Perhaps Sviatoslav here has what's different. He's certainly got the advantage down here. We've got 5 battleships from Aeon, together with a bunch of destroyers, versus, what's that, 9 battleships there from Sviatoslav. I guess it all depends on if Sviatoslav can bring them all to bear at once or not. And again, similar sort of thing for Chicken Ryabat. We'll have a quick look in people's bases, see if anything is on the go. So Swatoslav there with the 2 nukes. He's developing his air grid, but otherwise nothing too crazy. We've got some sporadic power gens there from Karl. I like that. Svatoslav's base looking a little exposed, but perhaps he feels the best defense is attack. And is doing just that, trying to spread through the southern areas then. It looks like finally met his match as Foley assists Ryobert. We've got a huge wave of torpedo bombers here from Unique as well. What fantastic team play from the Coolies, and they're picking on the most heavily damaged battleships. And there goes the first. And this is perhaps the only weakness that I saw from Swatoslav, a lack of cruisers, meaning that all of these torpedo bombers are going to be able to play for free. And Swatoslav, well, he doesn't even feel he's got the numbers to take on the ASF, can only sit back in horror and watch as he gives the order for a general retreat there. The Navy going down to the superior Air Force. That is unfortunate. Meanwhile, Karl exploiting the confusion by pressing through the mid. And almost nothing to stop him here. Got a couple of battleships there from Unique. He's also got at least 1 sub-hunter in the mix. And you can see here that Karl, that's the priority, the sub. Whenever he makes torpedo bombers, he doesn't care about the rest. It's those dang sub-hunters. See, Foley's got at least 2 or 3 in the mix as well. But I think there's too much armor here that's breaking through. There are too many hit points on those battleships.
Strategic launch
But just as the Hotties are making gains through the central region, the Coolies are making gains down here. And here we've actually got a nuke on a U-boat or a submarine, nuclear sub, and that's going to fire into the Coolies. And Foley's going to want to be careful here, or he's going to lose a whole bunch of ASF. Oh, and he does just about manage to get out of dodge. And you can see there the nuke impacts, heavily damaging at least 2 battleships, but doesn't actually kill very much. The submarine nuke, much weaker than a regular nuke. Shorter range as well, but damage-wise, at some point the decision was made not to allow it to kill experimentals or the highest value targets. Anti-nuke there, shooting down another nuke that was coming across. Still have one in the clip there, but going to want to be careful here. We've got a battleship right next to it. And what was that? I think that was yet another nuke impacting the Coolies Navy, and just as well, because we were seeing here Foley working together with Chicken, pushing through the southern region, and they're actually making ground again after the counter-attack from Swatoslav that had pushed them all the way back. And this is the only problem now. Yes, you can get, oh look at that, a drop. Finally a drop's been shot down from Swatoslav. I imagine that the Hotties have got an Omni long since now. No real excuses to have drops in the back of base anymore. What actually have we over here? Well, it is another drop, 2 harbs. And again, the Hotties are going to see that coming. The only question is if they've got an APM left to deal with it. Although it may actually fly past Sam's site. So, oh, it's going to be close. And he is actually threading it through. I say he's threading it through the gap. Man, oh man, look at that missile chasing it. There goes the ping. But it is going to be too late. So, yeah, Ryobert still making himself a nuisance with these drops. Nicely done. Meanwhile, battleships in the Coolies base. And at 46 minutes, guys, if you are enjoying the video, do leave it a like. If you haven't yet subscribed, why not? And I'd like to take the opportunity to thank everybody that does give the videos a like, or that does leave a comment. I'm sure you don't need me to tell you how that does make a difference somehow to the algorithm, but it does, so thank you. And yeah, masses of Navy there from the Hotties destroyed, as I'm not sure how many Tech 3 sub-hunters are in that mix. 13, and that's just from Foley. We've got another 10 there from Unique, and that is a huge, huge power. And look at this, Paragon cancelled. Apologies for missing this, but it would appear that we had a Paragon under construction there, and it can't have been more than halfway, or the detonation would have been nuclear. Foley not over impressed, I don't think. And of course, when they speak an hour, that will be in part due to the somebody's system will not be able to run the game quite at the same speed that we're able to watch it back. Internet lag issues, you know the drill. And look at this. This is a Billy. I love that we're able to see these and identify them, and that right there is the counter. If I've ever seen a counter to Tech 2 or even Tech 3 subs, it is the Billy. And so unless Coolies are able to escort these subs with cruisers, where's the Billy coming from? Can only be from Carl or Red Vizzy. Sorry, beg your pardon. Swatoslav or Red Vizzy. Swatoslav back there. He's got regen, so it's not him. So it's got to be Red Vizzy. And here he is, and he's flying himself around. How often do we see that when UEF players these days, at least the competent ones, get themselves the upgrade? Wow, look at that. Huge ball of torpedo bombers there from Foley. That would have easy one-shot the commander. I wonder if Red Vizzy Moses saw it coming. But whatever it is, these torpedo bombers, I'm not sure what it is that they're going for now. But a lot of them are getting shot down on the way. They must be desperate for whatever the target it is. And it looks like it's going to be naval yards. Meanwhile, a huge press once again through the central regions. Does appear that the Coolies got a massive advantage with these Tech 3 torpedo bombers. Look, the Tech 3 subs. Look at them tearing up these Tech 3 battleships, aircraft carriers, and goodness knows what else belonging to the Hotties. They are breaking through right good and proper. Ryaba's been able to just plug the gap down here with little more than Tech 1 spam, tying up a huge number of Tech 3 ships there from Swatoslav, although I'm not convinced that they're going to be that effective versus these subs anyway. Perhaps better, safer to have them out the way and not doing much than up against these Tech 3 sub hunters. I mean, there's so many places we could be looking at this attack, but I mean, look at them. It's just a continuous machine gun fire of guided torpedoes. And as soon as they've destroyed one target, the remaining torpedoes... Oh, man, look at that. Another Billy. I can only assume that's what it was. I say the Billy, I mean, that really is the Achilles heel of these U-boats, these subs. I mean, look, they're almost unstoppable. Just needs to be some cruisers. Let's see how long it's going to take Red Viziosis. Well, there it is. Another Billy. And look at it, right up against these sub-hunters that between these three alone have got 100 kills or more. There we go. Good night. And that really is. Meanwhile, we've got a huge strategic bomber attack on the air grid down here belonging to Foley. It doesn't look like they're going to get too much more done. Down they go. What really matters is what's taking place over here. And yeah, we're going to need some air at some point, or these subs are going to start dying. Here we see the Tech 2 sub-hunters. I mean, look at the success these guys were having. 10, 20 kills apiece before they're going down, and they're just at Tech 2. I mean, Unique's going to want to push or back off or do something. But unfortunately, they are beginning to succumb now to huge waves of torpedo bombers. Of course, we saw Foley dealing with the attack further back. Could do worse than just send a few torpedo bombers, a few ASF in to try and deal with these. And look at that once again. There we see the target, the Billy coming in. And that right there probably prevented the Hotties from getting completely knocked out the sea. I see nothing here to have stopped those subs, and there was at least 6, if not 7 Tech 3 attack subs there from the Seraphim, and they all got taken out. Red Viziosis keeping his team in the game. VIP says Tech 3RT. Well, there's certainly some Tech 3RT from the Hotties. Where is it? Here it is. 33 kills so far, and it's getting capped off to increase its rate of fire. All I can hear is millions and millions of torpedo bombers, and I'm just wondering if Foley doesn't feel that he can win the air fight, or what exactly is going on. I mean, how many is Swatoslav? Let's just have a count. Torpedo bombers, we've got 56. We've also got another 8 from a different faction. Another Billy nuke there. But I just want to have a look on ASF counts. 190, let's call it, for Swatoslav. Foley's got to have more than that. 237 plus 28 out of fuel. We'll call it 250 if only they could find themselves an air repair pad. But still a minor advantage for Foley. But I guess if you fight over enemy SAM sites, any advantage that there may be with smaller numbers like that is going to be negated. Foley does take the opportunity to take out a few of these torpedo bombers. And once again, another press from the Coolies. These here are the Jensens, the hover tanks at the Tech 2 level. This is sad to see. These Tech 3 subs that were doing so well before succumbing to torpedo bombers. There doesn't seem to be enough air to deal with it. I'd like to see, again, just a few cruisers sprinkled into the mix. Perhaps it's a distractionary attack for something else that's brewing. Of course, the Coolies do have the artillery raining in all along. And Chicken here making the decision to build a Paragon. It's almost 20% built as well, so that's a lot of resources that have gone into that structure. We do have enemies sat overhead there. Red Vizimosis getting all aggressive with the defense satellite. Just for a change, right? Five minutes away from the mark of epicosity then. Another nuke out. Let's take an opportunity to look at the ecos. 1.1 thousand apiece. Team 2, the Coolies, the first to hit 3 million. Team 1, just 5% behind, so they've caught up a little bit. You can see just how many mass extractors are missing now. How many mass points with that green shimmering. In comes the nuke. And there goes the anti-nuke shot down. That anti-nuke there's more than paid for itself. Look at it, 3 missiles intercepted. I do like that they added the counter at some stage. And once again, a huge push with these subs. Man, oh man, you've got to take these torpedo bombers out. I mean, to state the obvious, but I'm sure Foley knows this. Being one of, if not the highest rated player in FAF in the world right now. I guess he just feels he doesn't have the numbers to ensure victory. But unfortunately, that's going to ensure these sub-hunters really have a difficult time. Whole bunch of gunships as well rolling onto the sea now from Swatoslav. That's thanks to all the mobile artillery and Jensens that Chicken Riber's pushing through. See now a lot of subs here from Swatoslav, the Cybran. I love the Cybran Tech 2 subs with that stealth. I mean, they're not fun to go against, don't get me wrong, but to use with their stealth can be very, very sneaky. Yeah, unfortunately, we're not seeing these massive numbers that we saw before. Certainly if you're rooting for Team 2, these attack subs that previously had 40 and 50 kills sometimes seem to be going down with sometimes 10 kills or less. There's a lot of higher tech units that they are destroying, to be fair. And Foley is now in the area, shoots down a couple of Tech 3 transports. Gets caught up in an air fight, and I just wonder, does he elects to back off? There are a lot of SAM sites there. And again, a huge push from the Coolies, getting right into the central production area for the Hotties Navy. And the battleship, for reasons not entirely clear to me, then turns round, and here we have yet another Billy nuke. These are predominantly frigates here. And actually, the Coolies are holding back a little bit, so providing they don't advance into that Billy, for the first time we're going to see an underwhelming Billy from play that has otherwise been flawless. I think we can agree from Red Viziosis, his positioning of those Billies certainly saved his team earlier on. The question is, was it enough? Still see the Tech 3 subs here pouring through, the number not so many. Billy certainly supported with a huge number of torpedo bombers has made the difference. Foley actually handing off and calling it a day. 1 minute shy of the hour. If that was Navy, we would have won, he says. And I think he's referring, let's have a look. He is, of course, referring to the Paragon. And yeah, you've got 5,000 hit points there, of course. Paragon over half built. You can imagine how much that has cost. And for those who, like me, don't have an exact figure, let's take a look. The Paragon, there we see it. 250,000 mass. So we're talking well over 100,000 mass has been spent on that Paragon. I think Foley's arguing that had that 100,000 been spent on aggressive units at a time where the Coolies were right on the doorstep, which to be fair they still are, that 100,000 mass would have made all the difference. I mean, you can imagine if a few cruisers had been sent in there to deal with some of these torpedo bombers, would have also defended against the Billy. Of course, coulda, woulda, shoulda's easy to say when we have global vision, but it ain't over. And Chicken Ryobird together with Unique, although Unique's got a much smaller presence, but Chicken Ryobird, who is still ahead. Look at this, 1.3 to 1.1. So the Coolies still having an advantage. And finally a nuke's going to connect. I'm not sure if that was the first true nuke that has impacted the Coolies. We've seen a lot of Billy nukes, of course, and we've seen a lot of nukes shot down, but that island there was instrumental in shooting them down. We're seeing 2 make that 3 attack sites, defensive sites, should I say. They used aggressively. The third one just making its way across now. And Carl once again pressing in He's got 4 battle cruisers. So they're going to be pretty accurate with their beam weapons. They're going to be able to really destroy the build capacity here. I wonder if that was their primary objective. Not really going to have the punching power to break through the shields, but it doesn't look like that's what they're here for. They're just here to cause chaos. Ryaba responds with a huge wave of torpedo bombers. Ryaba, who is a little light on Navy, it's got to be said. He's been able to hold the southern flank, but the central flank's well and truly collapsed. Go on, fly the gunships over these flanks. You know you want to. And unfortunately, Sviatoslav elects to be sensible and reclaim them instead. Don't blame him. The last battle cruiser there about to go down from the 4 that we saw through. 75 kills. Actually takes out, I don't believe this, in its dying moments, it took out a nuke defense. No effing way. Such shits, says Foley. Oh man, such shits. Well, yeah.
Strategic launch detected.
Oh, he's got his Paragon on. Look at this. I don't believe it. It's on. Look at the ecos. 3.1 to 1.1 favoring the Coolies. Question is, do they have the build capacity and enough area yet to defend? Nuke coming in. We've got 3 defense sats tearing up what was be left of the Coolies air grid. There goes a large part of their naval construction facilities. Big air fight in the middle. Ryaba not fully committing, of course. His APM is going to be completely oversaturated at this moment in time. Yet another nuke out there from Sviatoslav. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I'm not sure how much the previous Paragon was complete before it went up, but this one's on. We've got donuts under construction. We've got salvations. But the front line is collapsing. We've got another nuke coming in. The Coolies down to just 25% or so of the map. And that is collapsing all the time. Nothing but Tech 1 artillery to try and keep them out through the southern flank. Oh, no, no. A nuke going right into this air grid. Unfortunately, Ryaba was not able to get the build capacity out. There was a lot of Tech 3 engineers that went up there in addition to that grid. And it just feels now it's a matter of who breaks through first. The nukes or the defense sats. Yes, we've got the salvation on. Could really do with a few more shields, and nuke defense could do with everything, right? Let's be honest. The only thing that Ryaba has got to his name is an infinite amount of eco. What is this? Telemasering call. Drops in, bags what he can, and evacs. Where did he go to is the question. Back to safety is the answer. He's teleporting in again. Where's he going this time? Down here. What a target. Engineers building a donut. Nothing there to defend. We do have point defense right next to the Paragon, but they're going to be out of range. Here he comes. I don't think there's much air here from Ryaba either. There he goes, Mesa, and already queued himself to escape. There goes the build capacity, which is probably the most valuable thing at this stage within that target area. Oh no. I mean, we are going to get what appears to be another salvation online shortly, but I mean, the shields are buckling. There's loads of point defense there. But, I mean, they're There doesn't appear to be much shield here. I mean, I'd always like to see in this situation. Oh no, look at it! The Paragon has gone at 1 hour, 5 minutes and 50 some seconds. The Paragon, and with it, I feel the last hopes that the Coolies have of winning this have just gone up in a thermonuclear explosion. 4 defense sats circling the area now. I mean, the nuke took out the salvations that were there, and even if they hadn't have done that, no doubt the defense stats would have made short work of them. I mean, credit to the Coolies for somehow preventing a complete overrun on the south side. We've got artillery continuously pummeling what is left of the Coolies base. In goes another nuke. Unique decides to lob in the towel, and frankly, I don't blame him. Your opportunities with that went. Do let us know, guys, that despite the complaints that Foley had with regards to the Paragon being built, and had the money on the Paragon been spent on units up front, the resources I should say, of course we can all agree that that would have been GG up there. But let us know if you think, had Foley with his APM and his skill carried on playing, if once that Paragon was up, if you think with that third player it would have made a difference, or if you think it was already too far gone. I'd like to know. Personally, I think that something could have happened. Now, what's Swatoslav doing here? 20 strategic bombers. The UEF ambassador. And they're moving in. Some of their number is being thinned out as they make their way south. More than somewhat. And a very late victory there, I think, for Chicken. Manages to shoot them all down without a single bomb being fired. I think we can afford to slightly up the speed a little bit. Another huge wave of strategic bombers here. I mean, when your opponent can throw away wave after wave of bombers just going after individual targets, you probably know it's GG at that point. I remember reading one of the memoirs from one of the German soldiers in World War II, and he was describing after the Normandy landings, he was on a recce team, and they'd sort of crept up to where the Americans were, and they were sort of spying on them through a hedge at night or whatever. And he said when he saw somebody drive up in one of the Jeeps and he got out leaving the engine running, that was it. It wasn't that he drove somewhere in a Jeep. He got out to have a discussion, cup of tea, whatever it was, and he just left the engine running. He says at that point they knew for them it was over. Like, because what that said was these people have got so much fuel they don't even have to shut the engine off. And of course, in the later stages of the war, that was one of them, if not most severe handicap that Germany faced. They couldn't afford to fly the planes or run the tanks. So much stuff had to be abandoned. And of course, over in pretty much every other respect too. But yeah, leaves the engine running. And that signaled to these guys it was over. And I think Ryber's Eco now down to just 100 mass per tick. And that's going to collapse all the time. And I suspect it's just a case of who finds the commander first. You can see they're scouting the area and not actually seeing the commander. I'm surprised because these are Tech 3 spy planes. And as far as I knew, the Aeon commander did not have stealth. And you can see there on the options for the commander lower left, stealth is not there, which is no surprise. So why those T3 spy planes couldn't see him, I don't know. Carl has spotted him somehow, some way. Defense sat moves in, and there we get the confirmation there is indeed a target, and Swatoslav wastes absolutely no time in moving in. And at 1 hour 11 minutes and 30. Let's slow down time. There he is. It's actually into the 40s. I didn't think he was even going to live that long. Look at all those torpedoes, and there he goes. Carl, together with Swatoslav, get the kill versus Chicken Ryber, who was the last player to live. And with it, the end of an epic. Fantastic game. Ladies and gentlemen, I do hope very much you enjoyed that. Do let us know what you think about Foley. Not just the comment, but the leaving. I'd be interested to know, seeing as they did manage to get the Paragon on. As always, a huge thanks to everybody that helps prop up the channel. It does make a huge difference to me at the end of every month. And until next time, wherever in the world you may be, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night from me here deep inside the UK. Take care. Bye-bye. See ya.